After watching this video, you'll be making 808s like this. Making your own 808s from scratch is way easier than you think, and the best part, you could do it completely for free with stock plugins. That's right, no need to buy fancy synths or VSTs. Whatever DAW you use will have the tools you need. I'll be demonstrating this in Ableton, but don't worry if you don't have it because the principles will be the same in your DAW. The main part of any 808 is its body and shape. To make that, I'll be using Ableton's operator. This is its basic synth that will be similar to any other stock synth in any DAW. Most modern synths have numerous wave algorithms. I find that the sine wave works best for most 808s because of its clean waveform. You can add plenty of harmonics later with saturators and other plugins instead of using other waveforms. I recommend starting with the sine wave, then experimenting with other waveforms once you're more comfortable making 808s. The first thing we need to do is make sure that the voicing is set to one voice. If it's not, when the 808 is triggered, each hit will play over the other, making a muddy mess. You can do this by going to your global settings, find wherever your voicing tab is, and change that to 1. Now that that's done, we need to shape the sound with the envelope. Go to the envelope of the first amp in your synth. The first thing we need to do is to bring the sustain down a little bit and make a dip just like this. What this does is mimic how a real drum sounds when being hit. A loud impact at the beginning, and then quickly leveling off. Now the release needs to be pushed out a bit to make the tail of the 808. I like to start with a decay of around 3 seconds, but the final length of this will depend on the vibe of your track. Now obviously we would never play an 808 in this octave, so start by pitching your synth down 2 or 3 octaves. You can do this in your synth, but I'm going to actually do it directly on my MIDI keyboard. Now it's starting to sound like an 808. Now that the basic shape is made, it sounds pretty standard, but this is where we add flavor. My favorite way to add grit to my 808s is with a saturator. Your saturator should have a few options of waveforms to use. The more aggressive the waveform, the grittier the 808. I'm going for a more gritty 808 sound, so I'm going to use the hard curve. Now I'm going to start dialing up the gain until I find a level that adds the tonal quality that I'm looking for. As you can see here, as you push the distortion, the gain level is going to get very loud, so you may need to back off the output a little bit to compensate. Once you've gotten the sound you want, the final step is to add an EQ to remove any unneeded frequencies and to further shape your sound. The first thing I like to do is a sharp high cut around 30 Hz or so. This will help tame the low end a bit. Frequencies this low can't really be heard, so there's no point in keeping them. Next, I like to roll off the highs with a low pass because I don't like to keep all the high-end frequencies. If you know your track is going to be played over smaller speakers like a phone, you can keep a little more of the high end. This helps the 808 become more audible on speakers that can't handle low lows. After doing that, you'll find that it sounds a little more like bass. Finally, you can use a bell curve to boost any frequencies that you want to stand out. As an added bonus, some 808s have a transient at the very front of it. You can achieve this with a pitch envelope. Find and enable the pitch envelope in your synth. I like to start by pulling my peak all the way up so I can hear it. Then dial the decay back to my liking, and follow that with bringing the peak back down to a level that sounds best. You might have to play with these settings a little bit to get the exact tone and impact that you're going for. Also, if you're going to do this, I recommend bouncing your 808 to audio and using it in a sampler. That way the transient tone is always matching the 808 rather than pitching up or down more aggressively as you play other keys. The last thing to do is make sure that the 808 is in tune. Do this by adding a tuner to the track and playing a C note. If any adjustments are necessary, move the synth's pitch up or down until it's tuned properly. Now you know how to make 808s from scratch, but this is only the beginning. Feel free to play around with these settings to see what kind of 808s you can come up with. If you want to learn how to make custom chord progressions to go with your 808s, click here.